Guys, I'm on a topic today that I think maybe you'll be interested in. And it came from one of my YouTube subscriptions, Pirate Solutions, Bill Profit. I watch a lot of his videos. If you want to learn how to saw, that guy, he's a good guy. With one of our mills, Norwood Mills, Frontier Mills, he's doing a great job with his mill and his business. But he mentioned something about determining if it's a red oak or a white oak. Behind me, I have an oak on the mill. I just showed some some videos of two different pieces of wood here. It's easy often to tell just by looking at the grain of the wood. So there's many ways to identify a tree: leaves, bark, the grain, end grain, smell, specific gravity, weight, things like that. Soil conditions, where it's growing, the climate it's growing in. Many different ways to narrow it down what species you're looking at. In Michigan, I'm pretty familiar with our oaks in Michigan. We have, like everybody else, red oak and white oak. Red oak sells as red oak. White oak sells as white oak. White oak is generally more expensive than red oak. But they both have their purpose in the furniture world, cabinet making world, trim work, things like that. They're both nice and straight grain. They're easy to work with. They're hard. They're heavy. Some people can even tell what kind of wood it is just by pushing their nail in to the wood. Every wood has a hardness figure or ranking on it. So how is a surefire way to tell if it's a white oak or a red oak? Now, when I'm referring to white oak, I'm referring to bur oak, swamp oak, and white oak in Michigan. Those are the trees I'm familiar with. And when I'm talking about red oak, I'm talking about black oak, red oak, and pin oak in Michigan. Those are the three common species of each. And there's a few others that fall into that as well. But those are the big three that I deal with on each side. All right, so what if we didn't have any bark on this log here? There is a surefire way to tell. You can look at the medullary lines. If you find a quarter sawn piece, that will start hinting they're different, but that's not what this video is going to be about today. This video is about it's absolutely surefire way if you can get a piece of end grain of your wood you're working on. That's the surefire way. And I'm going to show you what that looks like close up. But before we do, I've come across this knowledge when I was a young man. I had a really excellent shop teacher in high school. It actually started right in sixth grade, my very first shop class. And it's unfortunate they're going away from shop classes. But my shop teacher is my sixth grade teacher all the way up through high school. I took it every year if I could, and I did. Really inspired me. My last wood shop teacher, Mr. He taught me about learning end grains of oak and different species too. So it's a great way. Sometimes if you don't even know what a piece of wood is, you can look at the end grain with a magnifying lens and determine what it is. I've got a few books here. I've got a big library of wood books, but these 3 or 4 books, actually there's 3, but there is 4 books here, are my go-to books. This is an identification book of the trees of Michigan. This one, I usually carry it often with me, by Stan Tequila. Oh, tequila. The other one is by Nick Gibbs, The Real Wood Bible. This has 100 different woods in here. This one, I use it. It just gives you an idea of what you can do with it. It's not so much an identification book, but it does tell you, there's a lot of information on sawmilling, boards, how much they weigh, shrinkage rates, stuff like that. But this is my favorite book. This one's by Bruce Hoadley, Understanding Wood, a Craftsman's Guide to Wood Technology. I have both, well, he's got several renditions, but I have the first and his last rendition of these books. I really like this last one. I do have some places marked. And this is what we're going to talk about today. These end grains, guys. And how to determine what it is. So there's a term in wood called tylosis. And what it essentially is a plugging of these pores. We have these holes, these little tubes that run through the length of the wood. And in fact, you may have seen one of my logs a couple weeks ago as I was cutting it, and I even mentioned it, I'd never seen it because I don't cut green lumber. I don't cut a live tree down. So most of the trees I cut down are dead, so I never see this. But that big job I was doing for Chris, those were green logs. And as I would come out the end, when my blade was about 6 inches, you'd start seeing water come through these tubes. We're not going to concern ourselves with the names of the tubes right now, but just know in red oak, they're hollow. And in white oak, they're plugged with tylosis. It's like a foam, and you can see it if you look at the end grain. And you can actually see it. I don't have good eyes, and I could almost see it with my naked eye. With a magnifying glass, it's very easy, and I'll show you, I'll zoom up. You can also, on a piece of red oak, you cut a little, in fact, I'll do that for you. I'll cut a little corner off the red oak and this piece of white oak, and we'll blow through it. And you'll be able to blow bubbles out the end of the red oak, or the white oak, you won't be able to. Tylosis is one of the traits that gives white oak its water-resistant property as opposed to red oak. Now that you know that it's like straws, it's going to wick up the water. So if you're going to use this in water or ground, you better have a way to seal those up. There's many ways to seal it up, the grains up, but you want to keep water from getting in there and getting soaked up. White oak, since it has tylosis in all those pores, those straws, those tubes are plugged. So water isn't wicking in. So that's one of the ways it gives its property. So let's take a look at that closely now. Hopefully you see what I'm looking at there. If you look at these holes real close here, you're going to see that the red oak, they're completely opened up, and there's a lot of them. And the white oak, they're completely plugged. So that's a surefire way. Now, it's hard to see. Sometimes you can do it off of a freshly cut piece, but usually if it's a red oak and you freshly cut it, what's going to happen is it's going to plug up the those little tubes. The chain will roll them over or what have you. I can actually see the tubes here with my glasses on. Look at that. And this side is freshly cut. So let's see if I can, you really can. I can see the tylosis in the white oak and absent in the red oak. So very interesting. And so if you don't have a way to identify the tree, you don't have a leaf, you don't have an acorn, they don't all fall at the same rate. White oak, just a little fun fact, if you're not a hunter or even if you are a hunter, the animals, especially the deer in West Michigan or Michigan, the white-tailed deer, really like the white oak. So if you can get the white oaks growing in a stand of oaks, you're probably going to have a lot of deer in that area. So guys, I like the science of wood. I've always have. I think it's very interesting. And every wood has its own end grain pattern, and there is a library of those end grain patterns that you can look up. I'll show you here. We'll flip through it real quick. Eastern white pine, sugar pine, southern yellow pine, Douglas fir, tamarack, eastern spruce, eastern hemlock, western bald cypress, red oak, western red cedar, eastern red cedar, red cedar. I mean, you can see all these cross sections. Everything's a little different. So guys, hopefully you got something out of this video. A great way to determine your wood is by looking at the end grain. Red oak and white oak are often very close to the same color. Just some variations. Often the bark almost intermixes. So to keep that in mind, I showed you some red oak and white oak earlier. And if you're a novice or you're new to it, it might be difficult to tell the barks apart. But guys, I really enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got something out of it, and we'll see you out here next time. So all those books we just mentioned are great books. But if you're to buy any book for your library, buy Jill's 2 new books. They're both on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. Her first book, From Tree to Lumber with Papa Jerry, is a nonfiction book on running a sawmill and how lumber is actually created. It's a really neat book. Very good response. It's on Amazon. And Papa Jerry and the Tractor Wagon Ride. What to do with the lumber. So we build a hay wagon in this book. And we take everybody out on a hay wagon ride. Both of these books are nonfiction and very interactive. A lot of learning. My wife was a school teacher for 35 plus years. All the images, fun facts of Michigan, things to do with the kids, little exercises at the end to do. A very excellent learning book. Show her some love. Go buy these books. And as you're at it, you might as well look those up, those books I mentioned earlier. Understanding Wood, the Wood Bible, and what was the other one? Drawing a blank. Oh, Identification Trees of Michigan. So those are my go-to books. I do have a whole crate of other books in there. They're mostly like wood project books and everything. But that Understanding Wood, I would definitely make sure you look into that as well as these. Take care, guys. See ya.